I gazed at my reflection in the modest vanity mirror of my newly acquired cottage in the rolling hills of rural Vermont, brushing away the joyful tears that traced paths down my weathered face. At 72 years old, following 48 years of a devoted marriage and 3 long years grieving the loss of my beloved husband, I had at last claimed a piece of the world solely for myself. This quaint little home, with its overgrown garden brimming with untapped potential and bay windows framing endless meadows, belonged to me and me alone. I'd poured every last cent of my $6,500 nest egg scraped together through decades of frugality, skipping vacations, mending clothes instead of buying new ones, and forgoing even the simplest indulgences into this dream. Yet, it was undeniably worth it. For the first time ever, I possessed a haven that no one could snatch away, a retreat where I could cultivate my roses, lose myself in dusty novels, and just breathe in quiet contentment. I ran my fingers along the soft beige wallpaper, freshly hung, and drew in the earthy aroma of pine beams, savoring a sensation absent from my life for far too long, unadulterated liberty. That crisp autumn morning, I savored a simple breakfast of toast and tea at my tiny oak table in the sunlit kitchen, the symphony of chirping finches and warblers providing the perfect soundtrack. I tenderly watered the vibrant geraniums and lavender I'd picked up at the local farmer's market, envisioning the cozy nook where I'd place my cherished antique armchair, handed down from my grandmother. Everything aligned perfectly. Everything was unequivocally mine. The trill of my old flip phone shattered the serenity as I sorted through my sparse wardrobe in the main bedroom's armoire, seeing my daughter Sophia's name flash on the screen. A warm smile crept across my lips. I imagined she might finally offer her blessings on my bold move, though deep down, I recalled her vehement opposition from the start. "Mom, it's a foolish splurge," she'd lectured repeatedly. "Stay in your condo near us. Near them, mind you, not with them. Close enough to summon me at a moment's notice for their conveniences." "Hello, my sweet Sophia," I greeted, my voice laced with that enduring motherly affection that persists through countless letdowns. "Mom, gear up," she barked without preamble, her tone sharpened by years of marriage and corporate climbs. "In about an hour, Michael and I will roll in with 18 folks from his side, whip up meals for all, and prep the beds. It's just a 10-day stay, no big deal." The room spun. I gripped the armoire for support, my pulse thundering like a storm in my ears. 18 people, Sophia, I've barely unpacked. There's nothing ready, no groceries, no linens for that many. "Mom, spare the theatrics," she snapped. "They're family now. Show some hospitality." Michael mentioned his niece Clara is tagging along with her 3 toddlers, his sister Leah with her husband and their quadruplets. Wait, no, triplets. And uncles Frank and George are coming with their spouses and grandkids too. It's peak foliage season, and everyone needs a cost-free getaway. Your place is ideal, rustic charm and all. But Sophia, this is a tiny 3-bedroom bungalow. How on earth? No excuses, Mom. Family means stepping up. Why snag such a spacious spot if not to share? Don't play the selfish card. We're en route, get cracking. Ensure there's plenty of fresh sheets. The little ones will splash in the nearby pond, so pack snacks for the drive home too. By click gone, I clutched the phone, my hands quaking, as the bliss from moments earlier evaporated like morning mist. 18 intruders descending on my sanctuary, uninvited, unconsulted, presuming I could magically host the man, framing my home as their complimentary lodge. I surveyed my compact 3-bedroom, 2-bath abode. Where would they all crash? On air mattresses in the den with its lone loveseat. My pantry was barren. I'd only stocked basics like a carton of milk, a loaf of bread, and some apples from town. Feeding 18 for 10 days, with what funds? But the real dagger wasn't the chaos, it was the erasure of my voice. Sophia dictating my domain, my schedule, my resources, as if I were her subordinate, not her parent. As if this cottage, earned through lifelong toil and my entire savings, was merely an extension of her entitlements for Michael's kin. I sank onto the edge of my carefully selected 4-poster bed, dreaming of serene dawns, sipping coffee while gazing at the hills, only to feel that gnawing void in my gut return. It mirrored every unannounced visit to my former condo, where Sophia and Michael would raid my fridge, monopolize my laundry, binge on my streaming services, and depart amid clutter, as if it were their due. Memories flooded back. The week after my husband's passing, when solace was my deepest craving, Sophia arrived with garbage bags and a contrived grin. "Mom, you're hoarding junk. Time to declutter," she'd declared, bundling his vinyl records and old letters without a word. "We'll take these off your hands. At your age, who needs the dust?" In my haze of sorrow, I'd surrendered, watching her cart away treasures, including the silver locket from my mother. When I liquidated the condo for this cottage, she'd badgered me to hand over the proceeds. "Mom, finances aren't your forte. Let me invest it wisely," she'd cooed with that patronizing smirk I loathed. My refusal sparked a 2-month silent treatment. And now, mere hours into my independence, she was commandeering it anew. Tears welled as I peered at the garden I'd yearned to nurture. In an hour, tranquility would shatter into pandemonium. I lingered on the bed, absorbing the blow. The once comforting hush now loomed oppressively. Soon, this labor of love retreat would morph into a whirlwind of expectations. Rising unsteadily, my 72 years weighing heavily, I shuffled to the kitchen on shaky legs. The fridge revealed a stark truth. 4 eggs, a quart of milk, 3 carrots, a wedge of cheddar from yesterday, and herbal tea bags. Pantry check. A jar of peanut butter, canned corn, half a box of oatmeal, spices, and vinegar. Plates a service for 6, ample for solitude, not a hoard. I'd never fathomed Sophia turning my oasis into a makeshift hostel. Clock ticking, 45 minutes. Miracle time. Snatching my handbag and keys, I dashed to my wallet post-purchase. Furnishings and relocation had left me with $400 till pension day, sustaining 18 for 10 days on that. The rural road to the village store dragged eternally, each tick eroding prep time. In the mom-man-pop market, I darted aisles like a fugitive, tallying pennies. Bulk oats, lentils, canned tomatoes, potatoes, onions, discount bread. No luxuries, just staples to multiply. Total, $320, gutting my reserves. Back with 15 minutes spare, I morphed the kitchen into a frenzy, boiling pots for oats and lentils, dicing veggies amid sobs not from chopping, but fury, impotence and grief. How had I sunk here? Post-widowhood, I'd strived as the ideal matriarch, indulgent, in-law, ever-ready nana. Sophia's childcare pleas. Met. Loan requests. Granted. Vehicle loans during repairs. Obliged. Always affirmative, eternally accommodating. Flashback. Michael's impromptu drop-in at my condo with 4 buddies for a baseball marathon, demanding feasts and brews. "Mom's away, and your cooking's legendary," he'd flattered with that oily grin. I'd scrambled to shop, expend, and serve like their private caterer. Or when Sophia dumped her cousin's duo of infants on me for 5 days amid crisis, sans compensation or query. Canceling my physical therapy. "Mom, overreacting much. Keeps you occupied. Combats isolation." Isolation. Stirring lentils. The term ricocheted. I was more isolated amid family than solo solitude. Doesn't feign affection while exploiting. Car engines rumbled, yanking me present. Peering out, for SUVs unloaded a mob like vacationers at a luxury retreat. Kids whooping, grown-ups chortling, luggage tumbling. Sophia orchestrated like the estate's proprietress. "Mom, lend a hand with luggage." Spoon and grip. A core fracture occurred, not cinematic, but irrevocable, like a frayed rope yielding. Opening the door, the spectacle stunned. 18 souls, infants to seniors, alighting as if toparottis, some in pond gear, others toting picnic baskets, all beaming expectantly, anticipating pampering. Paradise. Some in pond gear, others toting picnic baskets, all beaming expectantly, anticipating pampering. Aunt Eleanor, bellowed Clara, Michael's niece, juggling a fussy toddler. Gorgeous spot. The tots will adore it. Hope Grubb's abundant we're famished post-drive. Ethan, Michael's brother, clapped my shoulder like chums. Mom-in-law prime vacay vibes. "Chow, ready?" Youngsters skipped breakfast, naturally counting on Granny Eleanor to salvage. As ever, the unflinching aide mom. Sophia neared, her smile superficial. Rooms set. Clara's crew claims the primary suite, the babes nocturnal. We'll take the guest. Others bunk in the lounge. My suite, where I'd unpacked dreams of hilltop sunrises. Decreed sans input, relegating me to the love seat, surveying the invasient fingering knickknacks. Claiming turfa, forgotten fire kindled. Outrage. Yet, inaction lingered. "Mom, food." Sophia hollered from entry, waitress style. Tykes, starving. Elders to unpack. Zombie-like, I retreated to oats mushy, lentils watery, sauce lackluster. But it sufficed what scant resources allowed. Plating on limited ware. I exhausted after 7 resorting to mugs, Tupperware, even a frying pan for a tyke. Mortification peaked. "This it?" Ethan queried, eyeing meager oats and sauce. "Expected steak or fish? No extras?" "You sprang this." Scant notice, I stammered, but Michael cut in. Eleanor, chill. We get the surprise, but effort counts. Family, right. Swanky pad Shirley savings for upgrades. Savings. They'd mock my depleted meal fund. Michael's clan excelled at guilt-tripping universally. Granny, piped a triplet girl, maybe 7. Got board games like Gramps. Sorry, dear, no games here. I cooed. Masking IR. Streaming. High-speed net. She pressed. Not installed yet. Sweetie. Fresh move. Her scowl. Caved Weller alert. 10 days of nada. Lame. Leah, swapping a Tots onesie on my heirloom sideboard, chimed Eleanor. Town run for wipes, bottles, purees, short packed for duration, plus bug spray, lotion, odds and ends. Napkin list, thrust, wipes, bottles, spray, lotion, tampons, cold meds, cough syrup, kid soap, bleach, fabric softener. Endless. Guesstimate. $150 plus my remnants. Leah, funds tight post by. She chuckled, dismissing. Drama queen. Essentials only. Won't bankrupt Wyatt. Family duty. Emergency stash. Shirley. Emergencies. They embodied mine. Unbudgeted. Tom. Michael's uncle beer from his stash in Toblessing. Sans mine. Eleanor. Stash spot. Fridge room for our sodas. Meats. My mini fridge. Stocked minimally. Shift mine. He did. Ousting my goods for theirs. Our crash pad. 3 beds. Sophia said lounge fine. Stock blankets. Cushions chilly nights rural-wise. 418. My trio blankets. 5 pillows total. My haven. Welfare inn. Kids stormed the yard, trampling my nascent herbs and daisies, planted with morning's optimism. Kids, mind plants. I called. Relax. Ethan barked. Youthful energy. Country escape for freedom. Freedom ravaging my blooms, funded by my feasts. Mia staff. Sophia cornered me at sink. Suds. Mom. Chat. Michael's folks thrilled, but amped the welcome. Vibes, frosty-like, unwelcome. More effort. I pivoted. Yeah. Meals plain, ambience chilly. Chance to bond within. Be thankful for company. Thankful for unbidden siege, draining coffers, food gripes, yard ruin, servant status. Plus, she added, no charging. Becky charging. Unthought, yet valid. Elsewhere, $150 night room. 18 souls, 10 days, fortunes. Silent. I nodded, scrubbing, as outrageous ember flared brighter. That eve, as 18 slumbered, snug in my domain, I lay vigilant on the love seat, snores echoing, ceiling staring, pondering, life's hijack. Revelation in shadows. Incrementally lost. Each yes masking no. Prioritizing theirs over mine. Permitting devaluation of my essence. But tonight, a shift brewed. I sensed resolve dawning. The awakening of Elias Thorne. Elias Thorne had always prided himself on being the rock of his family. At 72 years old, retired from a long career as a teacher, he lived a quiet life in his modest cottage on the outskirts of Willow Creek, a sleepy rural town nestled in the rolling hills of the Midwest. His wife, Clara, had passed away 5 years earlier from a sudden illness, leaving him to navigate the world alone. He filled his days with gardening, reading old history books, and occasional visits to the local library. His pension was modest, enough to cover his simple needs: fresh produce from his garden, a few cans of soup, and the electricity for his ancient radio. He wasn't rich, but he was content. Or at least, he had been, until the floods came. The warnings had started a week ago. Heavy rains upstream were swelling the rivers, and mandatory evacuations were ordered for the coastal cities. Ilias's phone had rung incessantly that fateful evening. It was his eldest son, Marcus, calling from the bustling metropolis of Riverton, 200 miles away. Dad, the floods are hitting hard here. The roads are closing, and hotels are booked solid. We're coming to stay with Umi, Lisa, the kids, and the whole crew. It'll be like old times. Marcus had said it with such enthusiasm, as if it were a family reunion rather than an imposition. Elias, ever the accommodating father, had murmured his agreement. Of course, son, come on over. What followed was nothing short of an invasion. Marcus arrived first with his wife, Lisa, and their 3 rambunctious children, Tommy 10, Mia 7, and little Jake 4. Hot on their heels came Ilias's daughter, Sophia, with her husband, Victor, and their 2 teenagers, Alex 15, and Zoe 13. Then there was his youngest son, Gavin, single and unemployed, who showed up with his girlfriend, Nina, and her toddler from a previous relationship, Sammy, too. Rounding out the group were Elias's sister-in-law, Aunt Beatrice, Clara's sister. pushy and opinionated, and her son, Cousin Harold, who brought his wife Fiona, and their infant daughter, Lily. In total, 18 people crammed into Elias's 3-bedroom cottage, designed for one solitary widower. The first night had been a blur of chaos. Elias gave up his master bedroom to Sophia and Victor, relegating himself to the lumpy pull-out sofa in the living room. The kids turned the house into a playground, knocking over his prized collection of antique books and leaving muddy footprints on the hardwood floors he'd polished just last week. Dinner was a disaster. Elias had scraped together a simple stew from his pantry staples, but it wasn't enough. "Dad, this is barely edible," Gavin complained, pushing his bowl away. "We need real food, pizza or something." Elias, biting his tongue, had driven to the nearest town 15 miles away and spent $150 on takeout pizzas. Dipping into his emergency savings, they devoured it without a thank you, leaving him to clean up the mess. But it was the next morning that truly tested him. Elias awoke at 4:30 a.m., his neck stiff from the sofa, the house still shrouded in pre-dawn quiet. That peace shattered within minutes as Sammy started wailing, setting off a chain reaction. The older kids bolted from their makeshift beds on the floor, chasing each other through the narrow hallways, their laughter echoing like thunder. Elias shuffled to the kitchen, rubbing his arthritic knees, desperate for a cup of tea to steady his nerves. But Gavin was already there, rifling through the fridge like a raccoon in a dumpster. "Morning, Pops," Gavin said casually, without glancing up. "Where's the orange juice? And we need bread for toast, the kids are starving." Elias sighed. "I don't have orange juice, son. I drink water or tea. And the bread, I have half a loaf left." Gavin snorted. "Half a loaf for all of us? That's not gonna cut it. We should head to the store. Make it snappy. Nina's got a headache from all this flood stress." Before Elias could respond, Sophia wandered in, cradling a fussy Lily that Beatrice had handed off to her. "Dad, can you heat up some water for the baby's formula?" And oh, Lily had an accident last night. Mind tossing these in the wash. She thrust a plastic bag of soiled onesies at him, the stench making his eyes water. "Didn't you pack extras?" Elias asked, trying to mask his frustration. Sophia shrugged. "We did, but who knew it'd be this messy? You've got a washer here, saves us lugging dirty laundry back home." The kitchen soon filled like a crowded bus station. The kids swarmed in, demanding breakfast. "Grandpa, what's for?" "Eats," Tommy yelled, climbing onto the counter to grab a box of Elias's oatmeal. Mia echoed, "I'm hungry." With wide, innocent eyes that tugged at Elias's heartstrings. It wasn't the children's fault, they were just kids, caught in the adult selfishness. Victor sauntered in next, yawning dramatically. "Elias, got any decent coffee?" "None of that weak stuff, I need something strong to kickstart the day." Elias pointed to his jar of instant. "That's all I have." Victor grimaced. "Instant? Come on, we're roughing it enough with the floods. Add real coffee to the shopping list." Then came Marcus, fresh from Elias's bed, looking annoyingly well. "Morning, Dad. Breakfast smells non-existent. Let's plan a run to town. We can stock up for the week." "We," Elias noted silently, the word grated on him. As if this was a shared burden, when it was his house, his dwindling savings. Lisa joined, adding, "And don't forget diapers for Sammy and Lily. Oh, and some snacks, the kids get cranky without chips." Aunt Beatrice waddled in, her voice booming. "Elias, Harold and I were thinking a family cookout this weekend. Grill some steaks, invite the cousins from nearby. It'll lift everyone's spirits after the flood scare." More people. Elias's mind reeled. That meant at least 25 mouths to feed. "Beatrice, I don't think I can swing that. The cost." She waved him off. "Nonsense. Family's what matters. With what you're saving by hosting us instead of us shelling out for motels, a little barbecue is nothing." The kids, unsupervised, had discovered Elias's last bag of cookies in the pantry and were munching them straight from the package, crumbs flying everywhere. "Hey, stop that!" Elias barked, his patience fraying. Sophia shot him a glare. "Dad, they're just cookies. The kids are hungry because you haven't made breakfast yet. Let them have something." Elias stood amid the clamor, his home no longer his sanctuary but a chaotic hostel. Something stirred deep within him, not rage, but a quiet epiphany. These weren't visits born of love. They were transactions, with him as the unwilling bank. He'd confused obligation with affection for far too long. "Fine," he said evenly, grabbing his keys. "I'll go to town. They all beamed, assuming victory. But as Elias drove off, his mind wasn't on groceries. It was on the small law office he'd noticed in town the day before, and perhaps a long overdue conversation. The drive was a balm to his frazzled nerves' solitude at last. Instead of the supermarket, he stopped at a quaint diner, River's Edge Cafe, and ordered a proper black coffee. Sipping it slowly, he reflected on years of similar patterns. Bailing Gavin out of debts, funding Sophia's endless emergencies, hosting Marcus's holidays without reciprocity. "You okay there, sir?" The barista, a stout woman in her 50s named Carla, asked. "You seem weighed down." Elias chuckled ruefully. "Family troubles. The kind that fled in unannounced." Carla nodded sagely. "Ah, family. They can be your biggest joy or your heaviest anchor. Sometimes, you gotta cut the rope before you sink." Emboldened, Elias wandered until he found law offices of Alina Vargas. The sign was unassuming, but the interior felt welcoming. Alina, a sharp-eyed attorney in her late 40s, greeted him warmly. "How can I assist?" Over the next hour and a half, Elias poured out his story, the uninvited arrival, the demands on his resources, the emotional toll. Alina listened intently, jotting notes. "Mr. Thorne, this sounds like classic elder exploitation, financial and emotional. Family ties don't negate your rights." "But they're my blood," Elias protested weakly. Alina leaned forward. "Blood doesn't entitle abuse. Your home is your domain, you control access. If they overstay without consent, it's trespassing. And hosting them, you could treat it as a business arrangement, charge for room, board, utilities. In a hotel, they'd pay dearly for what you're providing, gratis." The idea stunned him, but it resonated. Alina helped draft a formal agreement, lodging rates at $80 per room night, $40 per person, day for meals, $15 day for services like laundry and electricity. She also outlined eviction procedures if needed. Armed with this, Elias headed to the bank. His account balance shocked him, $480 spent in 48 hours on food and sundries. The teller, a young woman named Miguel, frowned at the statements. "Mr. Thorne, these withdrawals are unusual. Everything all right?" Elias explained briefly. Miguel sympathized. "I've seen it before, Lativ's draining seniors' accounts. We can set spending limits or require dual authorization for large transactions to protect you." Finally, Elias hit the grocery store, buying only essentials: flour, eggs, canned beans, potatoes, and milk. Total, $60. No steaks, no beer, no extravagance. Returning home after 4 hours, he faced a barrage. "Dad, what took so long? We're famished." Marcus bellowed. "Where's the grill stuff?" Victor demanded. "Diapers. Snacks." Nina chimed in. Elias set the bags down. "I got basics enough to eat simply. No luxuries." Stunned silence, then outrage. "What do you mean no steaks?" Beatrice huffed. Elias produced his bank papers. "I've spent $480 in 2 days. I have $250 left till pension day. No hidden fortunes." The documents circulated, faces souring. "We'll chip in then," Gavin muttered. No hidden fortunes. The documents circulated, faces souring. "We'll chip in then," Gavin muttered. "Perfect," Elias said, unveiling the legal folder. "Here's the lodging contract. $80 room night, etc. For 2 days, that's $2,400 owed." Pandemonium erupted. "Charging family. You're joking." Sophia shrieked. "Clara would be ashamed." Marcus added, invoking Elias's late whiff, a low blow that fueled his resolve. "Clara worked hard for our security. She'd hate seeing it squandered." Victor tried bargaining. "How about $40 total?" Elias held firm. "That's pennies per day. Your gas here costs more, why's my worth less?" The standoff intensified, accusations flying, greed, senility, embarrassment. Elias felt an invisible shield. Their words bounced off. Then, a knock. His neighbor, Linda Hayes, 65, widowed gardener, with a basket of fresh tomatoes. "Hello, I'm Linda from next door. Brought these to welcome you, company." Elias invited her in. Linda, perceptive as a hawk, clocked the tension. "Big group. Must cost a fortune to host. I assume they're pitching in." Awkward mumbles. "Not yet. Tisk and my family, visitors always contribute groceries, chores. My son drives up with a full trunk every time." Her words landed like gentle bombs, exposing their freeloading to an outsider. As Elias brewed tea for Linda, she whispered in the kitchen, They seem more like guests at a resort than loving kin. Set those boundaries, dear. It's your home, your life. Linda's validation was the push Elias needed. By evening, cracks showed. Some grumbled about leaving, others offered token payments. For the first time, Elias slept soundly on his sofa, knowing the tide had turned not from floods, but from years of unchecked exploitation. The family might rage, but Elias Thorne was finally free. Reclaiming dignity. A new beginning. When we returned to the living room with the steaming mugs of coffee, the extended family had been whispering among themselves, their voices low but intense. I could sense they'd come to some sort of agreement. Michael, the self-appointed spokesperson, cleared his throat. Sarah, we've talked it over, and we think we could pitch in for some of the costs. Not the outrageous amount you suggested, but something fair. I raised an eyebrow, setting the tray of coffee cups on the table. And what do you consider fair? Michael, Jessica, his wife, leaned forward confidently. $250 for all of us for the whole stay. Laura, my closest friend who'd come to help me manage this chaotic family reunion, nearly spat out her coffee. $250? For 18 people for 10 days. She said, incredulous. Sarah, the motel down the road charges $75 a night for a single room. Do the math. The family shifted uncomfortably, but I could see the smugness in their eyes. They thought they'd outmaneuvered me again, just as they had every summer for years, piling into my house expecting free lodging, meals, and endless hospitality. But this time, I was ready. I'd spent too many years bending over backward, cooking, cleaning, and footing the bill for their vacations while they treated my home like a resort. $250. I repeated slowly, as if mulling it over. Their faces lit up, thinking they'd won. For 18 people for 10 days, including lodging, 3 meals a day, utilities, laundry, and cleaning services. Exactly, Jessica said, her smile triumphant. We're being reasonable, Sarah. We want to contribute. Laura shot me a knowing glance, her lips twitching. She'd seen the papers I'd prepared with my lawyer, Rachel, and she knew exactly where this was going. I leaned back in my chair, letting the moment stretch. All right, I said at last. I'll accept your offer. A collective sigh of relief rippled through the room. They thought they'd gotten their way, as usual, but I wasn't done. With one condition, I continued, watching their smiles falter. Since this is now a paid arrangement, you'll need to sign a contract. A contract? Ethan, Michael's brother, asked, his tone laced with suspicion. Of course, I replied calmly. If you're paying for services, we need to clarify what's included. It's to protect everyone. I reached for the stack of papers Rachel had drafted and placed them on the coffee table. This contract states that for $250, you're entitled to sleep on the living room and basement floors. One meal, a diet meal or rice. Nothing fancy, and access to the bathroom during designated hours. That's it. 1 meal a day. Sophie, Ethan's wife, shrieked. We thought we'd get 3 meals, like always. Oh, you can have 3 meals a day, I said, my voice sugary sweet. That's part of the premium package, which costs the $3,500 I originally quoted. This is ridiculous. Michael exploded, his face reddening. You're out of your mind if you think we'll sign that. You don't have to, I said, unruffled. You're welcome to find other accommodations. In fact, I think that'd be best for everyone. Mom, you can't do this, Jessica cried, her voice rising. We're your family. I'm not kicking you out, I said evenly. I'm giving you choices. You can pay the full rate for the services you expect, take the basic package you've offered to pay for, or find somewhere else that suits your budget. Laura clapped slowly, her eyes gleaming with approval. Well done, Sarah. Clear terms, no nonsense. That's how it's done. Stay out of this, Laura. Jessica snapped. This is a family matter. Laura stood, unfazed. You're right, it is, and a good family doesn't treat its matriarch like a doormat. She turned to me. Sarah, if you need me, I'm just down the road. And if these folks give you trouble, you know the neighbors have your back. With that, she strode out, leaving a heavy silence in her wake. The family exchanged glances, clearly scrambling for a new tactic. Daniel, my late husband's cousin, tried the guilt card. Sarah, you know how close David and I were. He'd hate to see you treating his family like this. I smiled faintly. David taught me to stand up for myself. He taught me that love means mutual respect, not exploitation. And he taught me that letting people walk all over you isn't kindness, it's weakness. Claire, Daniel's sister, tried a different approach, her voice sharp. You're making a big mistake, Sarah. There are a lot of us, and you're just one person. It's not wise to alienate your family. Her words might have shaken me once, but now they only clarified what I'd suspected for years. These people didn't love me, they needed me. And when they couldn't manipulate me with guilt, they turned to intimidation. Are you threatening me in my own home? I asked, my voice steady. It's not a threat, Claire said quickly, backtracking. I'm just stating facts. The facts, I said, standing to face them, are that you showed up uninvited, expecting me to provide free lodging and meals you can't afford. When I asked for fair contributions, you refused. And now, when I offer you reasonable options, you resort to threats. Sophie burst into tears, her sobs theatrical. I can't believe you've become so heartless, Sarah. My kids need a stable place to stay, and you're throwing us out. Your kids, I replied, unmoved, need parents who can provide for them without taking advantage of a widow. If you can't afford a family vacation, maybe you shouldn't plan one. The children, who'd been playing in the backyard, ran inside. Grandma, Sarah, why is everyone yelling? Little Emma asked, her eyes wide. My heart softened for a moment. The kids were caught in the middle, used as pawns by their parents. The grown-ups are having an important talk, I said gently. Why don't you go play a bit longer? But we're hungry. Her brother, Liam, piped up. Is lunch ready? I looked at the adults, who sat frozen, expecting me to jump up and cook as I always had. Parents, I said firmly. Your kids are hungry. There's bread and peanut butter in the kitchen. You can make them something. You're not cooking? Ethan asked, stunned. I cooked the last 3 days, I said. Today, you can handle it, or take them to a diner in town. There are plenty of options. Michael stood, his chair scraping the floor. That's it, Jessica. Pack our bags. We're leaving. To where? Jessica asked, panic creeping into her voice. We don't have anywhere else to go. We'll figure it out, Michael snapped. Anything's better than staying here with this version of Sarah. I watched as they scrambled to gather their belongings, a whirlwind of suitcases and complaints. Part of me felt a pang of sadness, but a larger part felt liberated. For the first time in years, I was standing my ground. Mom, Jessica said as they prepared to leave, her voice trembling with anger. This isn't you. I don't know what's gotten into you, but I hope you realize what you've done. You've torn this family apart over money. No, I said, meeting her gaze. I've reclaimed myself. I've learned the difference between family who loves me and people who use me. You'll regret this, she spat. When you're old and alone, don't expect us to come running. I'd rather be alone with my dignity than surrounded by disrespect, I replied. One by one, they piled into their cars and drove off. The children waved, confused but unaware of the deeper conflict. This time, there were no dramatic pleas or lingering goodbyes, just the quiet of a house that was finally mine again. That evening, Laura returned with a homemade apple pie. We sat on my porch, sipping tea and watching the stars emerge over the hills. How do you feel? She asked. Free, I said, smiling. For the first time in years, I feel free. 6 months later, my home was truly my own. My garden bloomed with roses and lavender, and I'd joined a book club at the community center. My days were filled with activities I loved: painting, hiking, and volunteering at the local library. Jessica called now and then, always with a request. Money for a bill, a favor, a place to crash. Each time I listened, then said, I'm sorry, but I can't help with that. Her reactions cycled from anger to pleading to silence, but I held firm. I'd learned that love doesn't mean sacrificing yourself, generosity doesn't mean depleting your own resources, and true family lifts you up as much as you lift them. Most importantly, I'd learned it's never too late to reclaim your life. This morning, I woke to the sound of birdsong, brewed coffee in my peaceful kitchen, and stepped outside to tend my garden. My flowers were thriving, and so was I.